Hi, my name is Boris, and in this video let's explore Ableton's Vocoder. It's an amazing effect allowing you to create unique vocals, and it's also an insane sound design tool. We'll go through all the essential parameters and some techniques of using it as well. Before we get into the video, if you like what we are doing on this channel, make sure to subscribe. We've got more content about Ableton Live coming up. If you'd like to learn Ableton 12 with all the foundations of music production, check out our Beginner to Advanced Live 12 Start to Finish course. Make sure to also check out the Everything Bundle Collector's Edition, which includes all of the courses, sound packs and project files in our store. And to see all of that, check the video description. Alright, so let's get started. Here we just have Wavetable loaded up. A very basic setting, just choosing somewhere between the saw and the square. And the most common way of using analog is just creating a blank audio track and dropping a vocoder on that track. Now I'm just going to choose my microphone, which is this external input one, enable listening to this device. I'm just going to arm this track for now, and let's hear what this sounds like.
This is my voice.
Now, as you can hear, it sounds very noisy. That's because our carrier is set to noise. So basically, it takes our voice, changes the timbre completely to white noise.
Once again, this is the noise.
So you can also draw on this display. For instance, let's remove all the high frequencies like this. And now we've just been left with the lower frequencies. Right, but just using the noise is a bit boring on vocals themselves. This is a great way of adding some depth and some synthetic character to hi-hats. But in our case, we're going to choose another carrier, and let's just use external. And now we can choose our Wavetable one track. So let's add our frequencies back in, and let's enable this track once again. All right, and now I'm just arming the first track so that we can play our synth. And I'm also gonna disable the first wavetable track so that we don't get any audio. We need to add a limiter here. So let's just quickly drop a limiter, and I'm going to play something on the synth and also speak to the mic, and you're gonna hear the result.
This is a test. This is a test. This is a test. This is a test.
All right, so you immediately get this weird synthy vocal sound. And the timbre of your carrier, sort of have your synth setup, also influences the sound. Because if we, for example, choose a different wave form, let's just hear what that sounds like with the triangle wave.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so you get the idea. The more high harmonics we have, the brighter our sound gets. But now there are some really important features in Vocoder which allow you to shape the sound further. This center display is actually called a filter bank display, and that's because each of these bands is actually a bandpass filter. And you can choose how many of these bands you have. For instance, if we just choose 4 bands, it's going to be a very simplified vocoder sound. So it sounds much more noisy than if we choose a lot of bands. So here are 40 bands.
Here are 40 bands.
So 40 bands sound much more like your voice. So basically, the more bands you have, the less noisy and more realistic it's sounding. But also more bands just use up more of your CPU. Let's go back to 20, and you can also attenuate different bands. So if we don't want as much low end, we can do that. If we want to shave off the high end, we can do that. And let's give that a quick listen to.
Now it's going to sound different.
Now you can hear that we don't have as much of the bass, and we also don't have as much of the high frequencies. Now we also have really important controls with the attack and release. So attack just determines how fast the vocoder is going to respond to our voice, and the release basically tells the vocoder how long to keep playing the sound after we stop speaking. So let's for now add a longer attack and hear what that sounds like.
This is a short attack. This is a much longer attack.
So I hope you could hear it's much smoother now. We don't have a sharp attack anymore. And let's also check the release. If we set that for much longer, what this sounds like. So both now the attack is quite slow, and also we have a long release. So our vocoding sound just sort of lingers on for longer. This is also quite useful if you want to just do very short sounds and have them fade out much longer. So for that we need a short attack. So if you make all kinds of noises, or you even route different audio like drums, you can then add harmonic content to it this way. So that would be the attack and control. We also have the formant knob, which shifts the frequencies in this filter bank. And this changes the character, the timbre of your voice, so you can make it sound a bit more chipmunky or a bit more muffled. So let's test this.
This is the standard performance setting.
So when I went down, it was muffled. When I went higher, it sounded a bit more chipmunky, as usual when we use the formant control anywhere. Now, some other cool features are these range sliders. So this just changes the frequency range of our filter banks. So we can reduce the highs and reduce the lows even. So then we just get the frequencies more in the middle of the frequency spectrum. Let's test that.
This is the default range, and now I'm reducing the highs, and now I'm also reducing the lows.
Right, so now we just have the mids. Another cool setting is the bandwidth control. So we can drag up and down this bandwidth control right here. And if we drag this down, each of the bandpass filters is going to be much narrower, resulting in a more sine wave-ish sound. And if we go above 100%, it's going to widen. So let's just test that quickly.
This is the default bandwidth. Now I'm going down, and now we have sine waves. And now we have a wider bandwidth and even wider at 200%.
So if you'd like to make something a bit more delicate sounding, you can also reduce the bandwidth. We also have this switch when we can go from precise to retro. So in precise mode, all of the bands have the same bandwidth, but in retro mode, they get narrower the higher we go. And this can also result in a bit more higher frequencies because they also get louder with higher frequency ranges. So let's test the difference at 100%.
This is the precise mode. This is the retro mode.
So I hope you could hear it's a bit more sine wave-ish in the retro mode, but it also gives the sound much more high frequency content, might be more useful. We also have this enhance feature, and when we enable this, it's going to normalize the frequency response of my voice and give us much more high frequency content this way, because usually your voice doesn't have as much noisy and high frequency content. So let's just test what this sounds like.
Without enhance and with enhance.
So combining retro and enhance is going to sound even brighter.
This is combining retro and enhance. Only retro and only enhance. And now we're back to the default.
And also you can probably notice that some words in Vocoder can be quite hard to understand because we don't have these typical bright S sounds. And the S's sound like this right now.
S, S.
So we can also use the unvoiced feature, and I hope you remember what it used to be like with the noise section. I'm just going to play that once again for a test.
This is what the noise sounds like.
And so the unvoiced feature basically introduces noise back into the mix, and the sensitivity just sets a sensitivity for detecting these unvoiced sounds. So we can add some bright S sounds back into the mix, and that could make our vocoder sound a bit more easier to decipher. So let's give that a try. I'm going to speak some words with S sounds.
Saturation, saturation, saturation.
We can also tweak the sensitivity and whether it appears fast or slow in the mix. Just bear in mind that it's going to still go through even if you are not playing anything on the external carrier synth because we're just using white noise, which is always present sort of. All right, and let's try making a simple vocoder sound. So let's try tweaking some settings. I'm going to change the bands number.
So maybe let's change it to 28 bands and tweak the frequency range frequency range.
And maybe let's also tweak the attack and release. Maybe a bit of a longer attack and a longer release as well.
Longer release.
And I'm going to tweak the format.
And maybe increase the bandwidth.
Okay, and maybe the depth as well.
1, 2.
And then I'm going to introduce a bit of unvoiced.
And this now is going to add some S sounds.
And let's just put some reverb on top of it and maybe some EQ just to polish up the sound.
This is the Abletontips channel. This is the Abletontips channel. This is the Abletontips channel.
Alright, I hope you found some of these techniques useful and that you'll have great fun experimenting with Vocoder yourself. Make sure to check out our Music Production Academy with lots of start to finish courses on making tracks in various genres. And if you'd like to learn Live 12 with all the foundations of music production, check out the Beginner to Advanced Live 12 Start to Finish course. Make sure to also see the Everything Bundle Collector's Edition, which includes all of the courses, sound packs and project files in our store. And to see all of that, check the video description. Make sure to subscribe to our channel. If you enjoyed this video, leave it a like, write us a comment, and I will see you in the next ones.